87% of realtors that get into the business get out of the business after 2 years. That does not exist in our world.
We have massive visions around growing our businesses, and we are always looking to add talent to our world. We do everything in our power to ensure the people we surround ourselves with defy the odds, get into production, and build massive lives for themselves.
We have interviewed some of the top realtors in the world. If you're a new realtor, a top producer, or CEO of a mega team, Sales Beast Podcast is your blueprint for success.
With locations all across Canada, reach out to us to talk about partnership and opportunities. We are looking forward to it.
Yes, I'm the boss.
Welcome, Sales Beast listeners. We've been talking about that recently, who we're going to have on episode 100. I say we get this guy back on for episode 100 because he is an absolute rock star. Justin Jeffery, out of Toronto, top 1% realtor in GTA.
Yep.
Top 25 team owner in Keller Williams, Canada, and just an amazing all-around person. Thank you so much for joining us today. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me, guys. I'm excited to be here. I've been looking forward to this.
Cool. So tell us a little bit about your journey. So you've been in the business, it sounds like, for 9 years. You're pretty much 100% referral based, which doesn't surprise me at all. It's such a gift to be around.
Oh, thanks.
How'd you get started? How'd you build this massive business you possess today?
So funny enough, I got into the business having lunch with a friend who is still a realtor today, a very successful realtor, Nick Damon. And at the time I was working a corporate marketing job, and he kind of said, hey, you know what? You've been in commission sales your whole life. Why don't you give it a shot? So sure enough, I fast tracked my courses, and within 3 months I was a realtor. I would say a lot of my journey has come from just being a trustworthy person my whole life, right? Like, I've always kind of been of the mindset that come from a place of honesty, integrity, and trust. And naturally, as a new agent, that was kind of where people started with me. Over time, developed skills, and eventually had a successful business as an independent agent, and then slowly grew my team over time. And that's kind of how it started. It was very organic, very natural. And, I'm proud to say that, through a lot of hard work, dedication, and doing the right thing for our clients generally, trust us with their friends and their family. And that's kind of how we've grown. So, we take care of the people who we work with, and naturally, just as a byproduct of that, our business has grown to be what it is today.
That's amazing. Good for you for taking the risk. It sounded like you had a relatively cozy corporate job working for Canadian Tire. I don't know if we've never talked about this, but we come from somewhat similar backgrounds. You were in corporate marketing. I was in corporate sales at Honda Canada. Mom and dad did not totally approve of me leaving the cushy job behind and moving into this space. What was it within you that made you want to leave that life behind?
It's actually, it's interesting that you say that. So I remember, like, essentially I went to school, university for, 4 years to get to this point where you get the cozy marketing job. And my dad was super proud. My mom was super proud. Like, everything that we'd worked for up until this point, right? It was happening. I was doing really well in the role. And to be honest with you, I really liked it. I just didn't like the red tape aspects of it. And, the kind of the political stuff that you come across in a corporate environment. And I remember being at my cousin's wedding and my entire family saying to me, I was making a huge mistake getting into real estate because no one makes money in real estate. And, just feeling like at that time, no, I have to do this. If anything, that was just like more fire in my belly to make sure that like this had to happen. And, prior to that, I'd worked sales jobs my entire life, right? I've always known that I love people. I've always known that I love helping people. It was just, what vehicle was I going to use to do that? And I love the aspect of real estate that was, it's 100% commission sales. Whatever you put into it, you get back out. And that's really, really special because, being a hardworking person, it's never been a concern of mine if I was going to make sales. It was more a question of like, what avenue could I explore that was going to be able to give us the benefits that we, can we take out what we're putting in, right? So that's, and like, yeah, I mean, it was a huge risk, but I just had an intense belief that this is what I was supposed to do. And I've always loved people in real estate. So it was just a natural fit for me.
Nice. What do mom and dad think of it now?
Oh, they're very proud. Yeah.
I'm sure they are.
Yeah. Different conversation at wedding tables now, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good for you. That's amazing.
Yeah, for sure.
So I see from 2022 to today, your business, your life has changed so much. Can you talk about that trajectory, maybe some of the pieces that resulted in you growing that fast?
For sure. So, okay, let's start with, so I've had a small team now for about 5 years. It was myself and one other agent who's still with us today. She's a real pillar in the business and a really close friend. But it was just the two of us. Obviously the pandemic happened. It was so 2 agents and 1 assistant. And it was crazy. Like we did, like really proud of the volume that we did, but no quality of life. Was feeling really, really, burnt out, and just kind of thought to myself, how can I get off feeling like a hamster on a wheel? Because essentially when I stopped, the business stopped. Obviously you want to create and maintain the same quality of life that you have through that pandemonium. And naturally, I wanted to share what I learned with other people. Right. So it just starting a bigger team was kind of that natural next step. I've always really loved coaching and mentoring agents. I've always really loved marketing. And I was also feeling like, I felt like I could grow something big that could help a lot of people. So that was kind of the foundation of it. I was feeling burnt out. I wanted to share and help people. And I wanted to kind of see where I could take the business, kind of as like a personal challenge. And so, yeah, I guess in the last year, we've gone from 2 agents to 6. We've started a staging company as well, because we noticed that a lot of our investment into our listings was in staging. So we started a staging company, and we have an operations manager, a marketing manager, and a transaction coordinator. So we've ramped it up huge. So we're very supported. And we've hired some really talented agents to kind of help us out to continue to grow.
So the agents you're bringing on, are they seasoned, or are they just getting into the business?
So we have a huge mix. So we've brought on 2 newer agents who are incredible. They both come from a sales and education background, and super, super strong leadership. So although they were new to real estate, they had a lot of, like, they'd been successful in previous roles, and they're just like wonderful, wonderful people. And real estate can very much be taught, right? But you can't teach work ethic and desire, right? So, so those are our 2 new agents, and they're doing incredibly well. But then we also have an agent that's been in the business for 30 plus years, who's joined us. And she's kind of in a stage where she loved our infrastructure and just wanted a little bit more support so that she could continue to sell, but that she didn't have to do all the things that an individual agent does, right? Because as the team is growing, I feel like my role, like, yes, it's to support the agents from a coaching perspective, but I also feel like they're buying into a system and a process. So it doesn't matter if you're a new agent or you're a seasoned agent looking to wind down. Our job now is to create a platform that you can succeed and get all the resources, training, and tools that you need to be really successful in your job, and to have a lot of confidence doing it.
Could you share with us what that system or process looks like? Could you open up the hood on your business?
Sure,
Let
yeah,
me know
absolutely.
what my experience would be if I was to join your team?
Yeah. So, I mean, agents have to do so many different things, right? Like, you have to be your administrator, your transaction coordinator, your marketing manager, everything. So essentially, as an agent on the team, the only thing that you're responsible for is looking for new business, for writing contracts and showing homes, and that's it. Like, we do everything else. So it's like, hey, I've got a listing appointment. You text that over to Ashley. Ashley makes sure that your CMA and your comps are in your email so that all you have to do is just wake up, grab your iPad, and you're going to the listing appointment. Say you secure the listing, send an email off to Ash. She's going to make sure that your photos, your staging, everything is coordinated with the staging team. Like totally, like you're basically there to chat with the client and manage the relationship, and that's it. Everything else happens for you. So you don't even have to think about it. It's not even you're just looking for the next thing kind of in that process. And then on a monthly like nurture basis, we're making sure that our clients are getting loved on all the time through, could, like, for example, we gave like champagne gummy bears at New Year's, like just like little stuff like that, like little thoughtful like gestures so that they know that we're always thinking about them. And then newsletters and things like client parties and things like that as well. They're all organized for the agent as well.
They're basically doing nothing other than the 5 activities of Realtor.
Yeah.
I don't know, honestly. It's funny. I've always been part of a team. I grew up here. It's my only experience in real estate. You were on your own, so I'm sure touched on that already, how challenging it can be. For anyone that doesn't know, those 5 activities are lead generation, lead follow-up, script and role play, go on appointments, and negotiate contracts. That being said, if you don't have an organization like Jeffrey's that you can plug into, or like Justin's, that you can plug into, there's so much more on your plate. Can you touch on some of the stuff that maybe you used to have to do when you were on your own that now your team has taken off your plate for you?
Well, it's very much the 80-20 rule, right? So 80% of your income comes from 20% of your efforts. Well, what happens when that becomes your 80%? So it's just, I remember being an individual agent and you do a deal. Like I used to have my deal secretary just despised me because she'd be like, hey, I'm getting calls from this office and this office. Did you do a deal on this? Because I was so behind on, processing trade records and doing all these things, right? Like it's time consuming. Or even, you want to go out and door knock. Well, now I got to create a flyer. I got to get the flyer printed. I got to pay for that flyer. Like just all those things that take so much time that literally give you no benefit as an agent until you actually do it. So now it's kind of in a team capacity. It's like you send off an email and it's, hey, I need door knocking material for Thursday because I'm going to go hit 250 doors. And that material is ready for you by the time, Thursday comes. So it's just, it's really powerful when you don't have to think about it and you know that what you get delivered is good, because our team has always cared a lot about marketing and a lot about branding. That's probably because of my background being in marketing. But yeah, that's, they have full confidence that whatever they're getting handed is going to give them a good result. And just that not having to think about it frees up mental capacity to do lead generation activities, right? Whatever that is that they want to do.
Absolutely. It's funny how that works. That you touched on the 80-20 principle. So the majority of our time should be focused on those 5 activities, which is the 20%, and that's going to lead to 80% of your results. But what I see from a lot of independent agents, the second I walk into a brokerage in Hamilton, I see this. They're focused on the 80%, that busy work that will lead to 20% of the results. So do a quick math problem. I joined your team. You take the 80% off my plate. I get to do the 20%. 20 times 5 is 100%. I should be able to do 5 times the volume if I plug into your team versus me doing it on my own.
100%.
And I know I don't want to pay you a split. I want to keep it all to myself because when I'm on my
Right?
own, greener pastures, and it's so easy until I do it. And
Exactly.
It's effing hard.
Exactly.
We're built to sell, not to do all that other crap. I encourage anyone listening to speak to him if you're in his area. I guarantee you this man can 5 times your business.
Yeah. And what's interesting too is, a lot of people focus on split, but what they don't realize is that, within that split, we're also paying for the marketing and paying for the administration. And so you're not really doing that because you would have to pay those things anyways if you were on your
Out of
own.
your own pocket.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because the actual split, and the reason why the team can do it on such a high level is because you now have, 6 to 10 people sharing the expense a fairly large expense. So there's economies of scale there too. So you're going to get better marketing than you could do on your own, for sure. Assuming that you join a team that's good at it, you get way more support and firepower behind you. Because even if you were to do it on your own and you have one administrator, well, that person is only going to have so much capacity to do certain things, right? Now you have 3 or 4 people supporting you. So it's just, yeah, it's super, super powerful. You can definitely get very far, very fast within the right platform for sure. And I know you guys do a lot of that too. So it's amazing.
Yeah, I think it's important for agents to think about beyond, the $10, $20 an hour activities, like what their cost per hour is. And that's where I see teams coming in. So for you, when you started about building a team, what was your natural thought process? Like if you can think back to it, what was the moment that you decided, okay, I need to grow this thing beyond myself?
So it was definitely capacity. Like I was feeling, I was feeling burnt out, and you can kind of see when it starts to happen because you notice that, that customer service that you're used to providing starts to slip a little bit. And I never want that to happen. So it was just, okay, so I need to bring on more administrators and more sales to make sure that the customer, whether it's me helping them or not, gets the exact same experience, similar to like a McDonald's, than what they expect. And there was a couple instances, not many, I caught it fast, but where I just thought, you know what, I felt stretched in that moment, and I would have handled it differently if I was better supported. And that was a very quick turning point. Because that's our livelihood. And if you want to continue to be a 90% referral based business, you got to make sure that you're always on point and you're always on, because that's what your customers, their friends, and their family are going to expect from you when they call you. Yeah. So definitely that. Yeah. And also
That's
like,
awesome. And so,
oh, sorry.
yeah, go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I've also had kind of visions of like team of the future, I'm going to call it. And just, we've all known these pain points that realtors have. And it was really important to me to create a team that filled those pain points. So like, if we know that organization is a problem, if we know that marketing is a problem, if we know that, staging is a huge expense, so most people don't do it, but we know that our customers are going to make more if we do it. Let's start a staging team so that they don't even have to worry about it. So like, I kind of like, I've got this kind of vision upstairs where it's just, I want to create, like, I want a podcast studio in my office, which is, like behind me. And, I just want the team members to have every single resource they could possibly want so that they feel empowered and supported in their business. So that was also a huge motivational factor, not just so I could use it, but so other people could benefit from it as well.
I think that's somewhat, I don't know if you ever have this thought, but I often wonder when we bring on new agents, which you brought on a lot recently, what do the people I already have think about me adding more agents? My guess is sometimes they think another agent means less leads to me. Another agent means less of Mike's time for me. Another agent means less of this resource for me. What I think we need to articulate to them as leaders is that another agent means more transactions, which means more revenue, and a huge chunk of that revenue gets reinvested into this business.
Yeah.
And in return, you get the podcast studio, or you get to this, or you get to that. That's I think something I've been working really hard on communicating to them. Yeah. You need to grow if you want access to what you just described.
For sure. And I've also never understood the mindset of like giving business away, like, oh, but you're only getting, because through the vehicle of the team, they're bringing so much more abundance to the team through the activities that, we've perfected over time that we're teaching. Like if you have the right players and they're doing the things that you're teaching and sharing with them, there's no, like, yeah, sure, one day if they leave, they're going to take their database with them, but you're also going to be able to teach the same skills to the next agent as well, who will continue to create abundance for both parties, right? So it's hard. you know, like it can be hard when you've worked with someone for 10 years to give them to a team member. However, you know, I think that relationship will always stay with you as long as the experience is there. But if it doesn't, there's so much more, like there's so many people that you're going to meet just through adding team members that it's not going to matter over time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that comes back to you saying like a system, like a process. If your team members can follow the same route that you followed and achieve the same results, well, anybody can achieve it. So why wouldn't you want to grow and have more people doing the same thing and getting better and better results and just continuously improving? Justin, one thing I wanted to ask you is, I know you're really passionate about helping people build wealth and create bigger opportunities. So what are some of the ways that you do that, both with your clients and then also your team members?
That's a great question. So actually, this is really exciting. So Sammy, our marketing manager, she had no real estate background before working with us, right? She was just a really talented marketer. I thought the skills were transferable, so come on board. And just through education and teaching her kind of what real estate can do for you, she just closed on her first investment property last week.
Amazing.
That's huge.
So yeah, so she's really excited. And also the teams kind of watch some of the things that I've done, you know, in the past. And for our clients, like I think the most exciting thing is like I have a huge love for first-time buyers. And I feel really sympathetic to what they have to go through right now to get a house. So it's showing them, you know, different opportunities to get into the housing market, whether that's finding a joint venture partner or house hacking or, you know, whatever they have to do to get it in, but what's interesting is not a lot of people know these concepts, right? So they've just come to terms with the fact that, hey, you know, I only make $50,000 a year, so I'm never going to own a home. But it's like, no. Who do you know that would want to invest with you? Oh, well, wait a minute. Maybe this person would. And it's incredible how fast that happens, right? And like I had a conversation with someone last week and they went from like, there's no hope for me, I have to lease for the rest of my life. Now they've been pre-qualified with a friend. They're going to be the energy. The friend's going to finance it. And, you know, and they're going to go about buying their first investment property together. Like, it's just, there's so many things that you can do, right? It's just getting that knowledge out there and making people feel supported enough to make those big decisions, because it is a leap, right?
You probably saw maybe some of Sandy's like posts or read his newsletter recently, but he talked about the reticular activating system and the piece of our brain that anytime we come across something familiar, it starts to show up more and more in our world. So what I heard when you started saying that is you're just putting everyone that you come into contact with in an environment to learn and grow and get the knowledge that they need to make better, more informed decisions around building wealth. It was more about like an observation. It's like you're putting people in your world into an environment where they can have access to the knowledge that they're not getting in the real world. You don't go to school, learn about investing in real estate or managing your finances, but you're putting them into that ecosystem so that they can make those informed decisions with you.
For sure. And I think that the more you're exposed to it, and the particularly the first kind of hump is your first, and then it becomes an addiction, right? But it's scary to take that first step. So just to kind of be in an environment where a lot of people are doing it, I think is helpful for people to kind of have the courage to say, hey, you know what? I have a ton of equity in my home. Okay, I'm going to refinance it, pull some money out, and, you know, try something that's going to set me up for the rest of my life, right? Because you don't need money. You really don't need money. But yeah, no, definitely. I think it's important. And I know you guys have done a lot of that too. A lot of that.
For team leaders, like that's the ultimate source of loyalty in your people is when you help them build wealth. Because the one thing he did with us, but Anna lives in Vaughan. When I met Sandy, I lived in North York. I certainly couldn't afford anything in North York. So he sent me down to Hamilton where you could buy something for 200 grand. And he sent Anna down to Windsor, I think, where you buy something a lot cheaper than you can in Vaughan. And it's amazing the opportunity that's out there to buy a home and get in the market if you surround yourself with the right people.
For sure.
Yeah, it's just coaching for sure.
Yeah. Like you think, you know, if you'd never met Sandy or you know, and like I was introduced to, you know, a lot of people who are doing it at a very high level. And it's just, the concepts are not challenging. You just have to know about them. Right? Like that's it. Most people can do it.
I was at a leadership thing last week in Texas, and I had the opportunity to see Gary Keller on stage, and he talked about how to create the best environment for your people and how to be a great leader. And he talked about 3 things, and I think we just described them just in our conversation today. It's you, first of all, you teach them who they are and who they are as people. You teach them how to think, and those 2 things will help remove the fear from their lives, which is usually the thing that's standing in their way. Is they're fearful of what's next or what can happen. And like you said, by putting them in that environment constantly, they see that other people are doing it, so they're less fearful of the potential consequences or what could happen.
It's interesting too, because like going through that process, it's really interesting to talk about, okay, and if that worst case scenario did happen, what would you do? Well, I'd do this, or I'd do this, or I'd do this. Okay. And if that were to happen, would you be okay? And usually the answer is yes. Or they have like, a plan B, a plan C, a plan D. And it's like, hey, not everything in your life is going to go according to plan. But as long as you have your contingency plans lined up and in place, go for it. Just do it. Take the chance on yourself. If there's no plan B, C, D, then maybe don't do it. But, like if you're someone who's fortunate enough to have options, bet on yourself.
Yeah, I think that's the way to go for sure. I mean, I know all the people on this call bet on ourselves, and so far it hasn't done us wrong. And as long as we keep building our worlds bigger and bigger and allowing other people to remove that fear from their lives, we just continue that cycle. It's that constant cycle of creating wealth and supporting each other.
Yeah.
So you were at Canadian Tire. I was at Honda Canada. I don't know about Canadian Tire, but my environment at Honda Canada was one in which I was programmed not to bet on myself. I went to school twice to study business. I guess I didn't figure it out the first time, so I went to study it again the second time. That taught me not to bet on myself. It taught me to go get a job working for someone else. It taught me that someone else would take care of me, hopefully give me a pension when it was all said and done. You need to find a way to remove yourself from that. It wasn't until I stepped away from that I realized the fruits that are available to me when I bet on myself, and when it's me that gets to reap all of the reward.
Yeah. I remember when I was at Canadian Tire, and I had to do a marketing meeting to the dealer committee, which is like the 10 top stores in the country. They all get together, and we have our presentation, and everyone's getting their food. And I'm like 23 years old at this time, literally no life experience other than the college, university, and whatever came before it. And I'm just overhearing this conversation of, hey, are you going to your cottage this weekend? It's like, yeah, I'm thinking about it. You're going to drive, or you're going to take your plane? And I just remember thinking, I want to be that guy, So, and it's just, that's what entrepreneurship can do for you, right? And to become a dealer, for example, you have to take so many chances, so many risks, put in so much blood, sweat, and tears. Like these guys all earned it, but now they're enjoying the fruits of having their own business, right? But yeah, the corporate politics is tough. It's not for everybody. And most salespeople, are mostly anybody who get into real estate, might feel confined in an environment like that, because we're all, we're people that were built to kind of create.
It's not for a lack of intelligence either.
No.
It sounds like my environment was similar. I worked at corporate, and we had dealerships across the country. Dealerships were the ones that made the money. The corporation made money, but the people working there certainly did not. And I always wondered to myself why these smart people choose to work in corporate versus pursue ownership, dealership, or any business for that matter. I worked with some brilliant people, but at the end of the day, they did everything in their power to stay within their comfort zone.
Yep.
Their skills went
Well, I think
underused.
Security.
that's what I was gonna say. I think that's the case for a lot of people. Like, we tend to be brought up in a society that encourages the stability and the comfort of just doing that 9 to 5 rather than breaking out of that shell.
Mhm.
And I see that even with friends, family members, like they're okay to potentially start a side hustle, but when it comes down to becoming an entrepreneur and running their own business, I don't think 90% of them would even consider it.
Thing
Yeah,
too,
you
at
gotta-
times it's not that secure. My mother-in-law, she worked in automotive for her whole career. She was at GM. I'm sure throughout a lot of her career, she thought she had a lot of security. And then 2008 hit. And Detroit went bankrupt, and these car manufacturers were in a terrible position, and people lost their jobs.
And their
I'm now
pensions in
seeing a
some
lot of
cases,
that.
right?
What's that?
And I think their pensions in some cases, right?
Or they were reduced. Hers was reduced.
Yeah.
I see that now in real estate. So sales volumes are down. I don't know about your market. In our market, they're down about 35–40%. It's not the business owner that's firing themselves. Justin's not going to fire himself if margins get squeezed. It's the employee that works for Justin that will go before Justin if Justin can't afford to pay them any longer. So security, in my opinion, lies with you. You have ultimate power over your business and your result. The people working for you or I, they lack that, unfortunately.
Mhm.
Fortunately, they work with us, and we're going to do whatever the hell it takes to make
Yeah,
sure.
we're not going anywhere, Mike.
No, we're not leaving.
No, we're just getting started. But yeah, no, I absolutely agree with that. And it's funny because you don't go to school for 4 years thinking, I mean, life's just crazy, eh? Like, who would have thought when you were going to school for marketing and, that you'd end up where you are and own multiple properties and have a big business. And like, it's wild. So I think it's just, it prepares you for sure. I'm sure you can deliver a better, listing presentation than most because you had that experience and that training, that corporate training. And a lot of customers appreciate that, right? Like I think it's been a bit of a secret weapon for me as well, right? When you go in and you can kind of identify the room and, sometimes you sit down and people want to talk about their cat and, for an hour. And then some people want an actual statistical presentation with data and numbers and for you to be able to explain that and how you're going to market and, the demographic of who's going to buy the home. And, so I think that you just, those experiences they were a part of your life for a reason. And maybe you wouldn't be as successful as you are today if you hadn't had them. So, we're all just a cluster of our life experiences. Right. So it's kind of cool.
I see. Yeah. I see the same for a lot of people that get into this industry. And like, I see a lot of teachers that get into the industry, a lot of people from the service industry, and a lot of people from a corporate type of background like yourselves. I basically ran right into real estate right at university. So when I look at all the different types of people that come in, a lot of them are always service based. And like, if you think about the teacher, they want to give knowledge. If you think about the service or retail type of industry, they want to provide a service. And so if you're listening to this episode and thinking about what your life experiences have been, well, think about it both from like a job or professional perspective, but also from a personal perspective and what your experiences have led you to this point that you can pull on. I think that's a really good point that you had there.
Mm-hmm.
So can you, we're soon going to be running out of time here. Can you share with us, where are you going? How big is this thing going to grow? How many podcast rooms are you going to have? Where's your headspace when it comes to the future?
Oh, it depends on the week. Okay, I think so right now I'm really happy with where the team is at. We're on pace to triple what we did last year. Which is, exactly what I wanted to do with the team members that we have. And I've kind of, I think I'm not going to call it coast because that's never a coast, but I think I'm going to focus on strengthening some aspects of the business kind of internally to support the growth and momentum that we have. I'd like 2 more agents, I think, probably before the end of the year. And then I think that would give us like a really good work-life balance and a really healthy kind of bottom line for the business. I don't know if I want to have like 30 to 50 people on my team. I want to have like everyone on my team right now is a big producer, and I love that, right? We're very lean, we're small, we're only 6 agents, but everybody, you know, does a very considerable amount of business. So I like that, and I want to continue that. So the agents that I want to attract have probably been in the business for 4 to 6 years. They have really, really healthy businesses, but they just want to elevate, to your point, and do the 5 times more, taking away those tasks. So I think maybe 10 would be like my number, thinking 5 years out, but 10 with like the average agent doing, you know, 4 to 600 would be like, that'd be my happy place.
And a happy place for those 10.
Very.
So to wrap it up, if you want to be one of those 10 agents, there are only 4 spots left. Working with Justin, doing $600,000 gross commission a year, just reach out to him. It's awesome.
I would love that.
What's your Instagram handle, Justin?
It's at Jeffery Group Real Estate.
Hi, Jeffery Group. Oh yeah, actually I have it here. We'll put it in the comments down below as well in the description box.
That sounds
That's
great.
awesome.
Sorry for the camera malfunction there.
That's okay.
But I love chatting with you guys. That was a lot of fun. And yeah, I really appreciate the opportunity to come on and share some experiences with you.
Thank you.
Likewise, we have one more question for you before we go,
Oh,
and we're
sure.
going to grab a testimonial before. No, it's okay. But the last question is, and we ask all of our guests, who do you know that we should know that should be on SalesBeast podcast?
Nick Damon.
Nick. I figured you wouldn't say his name.
Yeah.
We'll shoot him a message.
Yeah, so Nick's the reason why I'm in real estate. He's the buddy that I sat down with and had a beer with, and he said you should be in real estate. So I have a lot to thank him for.
Amazing. Appreciate that.
Every day I'm hustling, every day I'm hustling, every day I'm hustling, every day I'm hustling.